mighty companions, we're all bundled. I'm here and sending you very much love and welcoming the new beings that are joining us to stand together in holiness, really, and honoring the love of God that we are. And to look deeply, to see that all there is light. This is happiness. Happiness is the light that we are, untouched by time. To see what can't be touched by the moving, the unmoving nature of being, holiness. So thank you, Jesus, for bringing this holy constellation together. You see how holy it is and how blessed with each joining. With each joining, we can see Jesus's promise to us fulfilled from A Course in Miracles, that he would lead us. We just have to admit he's the one to lead, to cease to say no to his leadership, and really learning what leadership is. It's not the leadership of this world. It's leading us out of this world before time began. To see that forgiveness is already here, it's already happened. In the light of divine being, to contemplate light, the unchanging nature. And thus to see the contrast between infinite light, the infinite being joined with Jesus, and attempting to make an impossible decision, which is to be other than Jesus. So now we get Jesus in stereo, the stereo Jesus effect. So many beings coming who hear the voice and have answered the voice and then are choosing to follow the voice for happiness. It's so beautiful when Mariska was talking about being with Jesus, and she said, and being so open and opening to Jesus and talking to him. All day and asking him questions all day. And this is really the invitation to everyone to have this level of clarity and direct communication with him, that it's nothing special. For a time, it seemed like it needed to come through Helen, because there's so many ideas about what Jesus is. That even if we read it on a page, that's still Jesus talking to us. But it comes alive in a whole new way when you speak to him within. When he speaks through you, you're alive with the grace of God. It's aliveness. It's to see what true life is. The expression of infinite, all that is. Here. And to see what never happened, like it can't happen. But that's just that play, that itch. He's showing me like they wanting to trade God for a body. Trade him in. Let's get a new model. Can you hand me Kleenex again? I think we'll put a box over here. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, to trade it in. Trade in God. Let's get something different here. Let's have a body. That itch for a body over God. Wanting a body over God and really looking directly at it. But to see also how this direct looking at an admission the honesty of God, admitting. That's so helpful. It's just really helpful. And you see the reflections, how we need the reflections in our brother. Yes, this is direct. This is rocket ship. This is love, loving love, as it is. Just the admission of wanting to be, the admission finally, instead of the denial of the denial. And the relief to see that even if we wanted to play body, or consciousness plays as a body or plays as a world, Jesus is right there to show us you're innocent. There's nothing horrific that happened. He's still there loving. He's still there with us. Mariska, he's laughing all the time. I think that's a signal for us to be laughing all the time. Jesus says, yep, it is. To express all the joy that God has given us as who we are, as identity. The only thing we're fighting him for is the word because. That's what we're fighting him for. Because the ego's plan is to be happy because. There's no because with Jesus. You're happy. You can't even use the word because. You are happiness. Thank you, Jesus, for reminding us what we are. Identity is happiness. Beyond trust. Jesus, am I beyond trust? Beyond it. Yet it's helpful in the play of consciousness that's very untrusting. Play of untrust. Is consciousness a play to feel untrusting? For an experience of untrusting what I am? The play of untrusting. So he brings us together with our brother. Thank you, Jesus. To let the two come to see that they're one. It's beautiful, the one mind. And the joining yesterday between the teams that are doing chapter 20 together. And we'll partner you with someone. Jesus guides everything. So we just ask them as beings come, and they want to see this, to see how much they're loved by God through chapter 20. It's just how much, even though we play and see where those denials, no, 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 and triple no to God, we still are God. God's the love. And discover the love of the life, love of life, life-loving love for no other reason. Through the brother, through this chapter 20, and the beings just sharing how Jesus is guiding them to release those denials, wanting to deny light for something that's true. And seeing the brother, the self, and hearing that one voice. That's so beautiful. Hearing that one voice, we can all hear it. And to give up the concepts about what Jesus is. You can ask him, Jesus, am I holding any concept of you in the mind? Okay. The slightest little shred of what you are. In a light circle, I heard happiness is directly proportionate to who you think you are and who you think I am. Jesus saying that. We can't be happy if we feel like Jesus is apart from us. We can't be happy if we believe we're something other than what we are. Beliefs are an attempt to put conditions on God, on ourselves. The desire for an experience of being conditional. The desire for the experience to feel limited. All we have to do is look directly, and he's showing us over and over that the pain is not looking. So it's like, okay, give it to me, Jesus, and just stand into it. And that's what the reflections are, just standing into it. Or like Irene expressed, I don't have to follow this. Jesus, I can hear him. You can hear him cheering dun, 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 in the background for all of us. We don't have to follow the monkey mind. We don't have to play dead anymore, like a little possum. He was talking to me about possum playing dead, to play in consciousness in death. Lesson 5. These lessons about wanting to give everything, like to make an object Velcro and stick to it like we're Velcro. Is that the play? Ask them. Is that the play, to pretend to be Velcro and stick to objects like they're glued? You know, it's like, don't take me from these objects, this meaning. I just love it. Jesus, is the play of consciousness to really relish giving meaning to objects? Is that the play? Yep. It's helpful to hear that yes inside and to know. Because it can appear for a time outside as though there's a voice outside, because it's still all inside, even when it's outside. Seems like outside, it's still inside. Because that's a desired experience, to have voices seem to be outside and separate, when it's all the one singing. In the play of rejecting one. That's the play. So now he's getting what I really appreciate. I guess it was needed here, certainly, for him to show what that really means. I am never upset for the reason I think. Well, first of all, thinking. It's the Velcro. And realizing that the Velcro is desire, the desire for experience. And so it makes those thoughts just seem like, I can't get rid of that thing, man, everywhere I'm looking. Really. And then we pretend and it kind of goes away, but it's still, we're not seeing it, but it's stuck somewhere. I'm never upset. So let's just talk to Jesus. Like every lesson we're taking, like we never seen it before for me. I'm just like, okay, I've never seen this lesson before. Jesus, totally show me everything. I'm never upset for the reason I think. What do you want to tell me about it? He says, see how much love is behind really looking to see what true upset comes from. It's just, upset is made to obscure infinite light. It's a miscreation. So let's just ask him, Jesus, we can hear it inside with that loving voice just singing our hearts. Jesus, so is upset made to say no to you? And hear what he says. Yep. It's always the upset is the protecting. It's like that protective layer overlooking, because we want to avoid looking to see that upset isn't real. Ask him. So Jesus, is that like protection so I won't look to see that upset's not real at all? So the reasons for being upset are way up in in the play of consciousness, in the kerfuffle, as we call it, in the desire for experience of feeling upset to mask something. It's hiding. There's something hiding beneath upset. We can ask him, Jesus, so is upset trying to hide? And then the thinking comes. Notice when the upset, we're just observing now. We're attentive to what's happening in thought with Jesus. And we just have a little talk and let him clarify really the play in consciousness around being upset. He says, and then the thinking comes, the little cloud of thought. And then we play in thought. If upset, and keeping the upset alive is we look inside of thought to find a better thought. You ever know? Just notice how that plays. And then two thoughts seem to fight, this is a better thought than this thought. And if this would have happened, then consciousness will take a past. Like if this happened, it would be better. And the argument is all in the thoughts. Just start to notice. We can start to notice that the argument is always in thought. It seems to be arguing about what's in the world. But it's within the mind of thought. So that's why he's having us really watch thoughts to see how that's the play. And then staying in the argument of thought. But I have to be right, and wanting, just like that itch. He's showing the itch. Oh, I want to be right. That these thoughts are true, like wanting it with every. You can ask him, Jesus, do I really relish getting upset? Do I relish upset? He says it's a way, it's a means to try and keep meaning alive, which is, its meaning is really dead. It's untrue. To have any meaning for anything is dead. You can ask him. So consciousness plays, and he's showing us, it's beautiful because he's showing us the innocence in the play of consciousness, to really see it as innocent and just kind of notice it, notice the play without jumping into it. Without seeing, that it's pretending like it sticks to us like glue and we're trying to swat away the flies. When we put out the honey for the ants, and all the ants come, if we're putting out the honey, then it comes. That's desire, is like putting out honey. And then it's going to feel like it really sticks these thoughts. So we're starting to see together first of all, the innocence, he says, innocence and gentleness. Just see how innocent thoughts are. Like, don't believe them, he's saying. Take responsibility for the desire for them. That's all. We're taking responsibility. Our only responsibility is for making thoughts true and giving everything meaning. That's where responsibility is. We think our responsibility is in the world for family and children, and that's a cover over. And for Christmas and making a nice meal, and that's still a cover over. For not seeing where our true responsibility lies in the desire for objective experience, wanting the experience of saying no to infinite. And then the upset comes when we're trying to protect the no. There's like the play in consciousness to protect, to look, not looking below the no, to see that life is here. Infinite love here, like seeing the light, an infinite light of being. Where's that light going? Where's the holy instant? And again, he's saying with so much love, if you don't see the holy instant, or you think you don't, join with a brother, because it's a desire not to have it. The only way we can't see the holy instant is desire not to see it. So we know what the solution is to that. Join with a brother on it. And look at the desire not to see the holy instant. That's powerful, Jesus. Thank you for that reminder. Because that's the dissolution, because then it's a recognition within the holy instant. As he keeps talking about it, because it's the recognition of divinity is here. And seeing the simplicity and recognizing, has this light always been here? Is the light always been here? We can look. And do the running exercise. We always do the light test. A is the light here. Infinite light, not seen with the eyes. Is it infinite? Infinite light. Does it have a limit? Does the holy instant have a limit to it? Can't find that. See, it's seeing the holy instant is accepting responsibility to see it. Because the ego is abdicating everything given by the Father. And you can ask, is everything given by the Father recognized in the holy instant? He says, stay there, stay with me, but not as an action to stay with me. Because the ego will make here's my new project. I've got now my project is to stay as the light. Now see that the ego comes and goes, and it's a decision to leave the light. That is so helpful. I'm deciding to leave the awareness of light. The light doesn't leave. That's the play. The ego go, well, I don't know where God is. I don't know where the light is. See that it's a decision to step away from the light. Ask holy instant Jesus, is not seeing this infinite light that's here, is it a decision to pretend like it's not here? And you can hear him, yes. And is the light always here? Is the holy instant always available to me? Listen for his answer. Always available. Is there any time when the holy instant isn't available to me? Is it 100% available? He doesn't say it's 99.9% available. 100% available. So it's a decision to pretend like it's not there. That the holy instant's not here, infinite love. So then we just look at them. Okay, now light's here. Infinite light. We do the light check on everything. Is this seen in the light? Is this true in the light? We just do the light test. Is upset true in the light? So trying to sort out when an upset arises and to look within thought to clear an upset. See how impossible that is. Can thought resolve upset? And hear Jesus' answer, no. That's why he's saying, join with me in light, to come outside all that thought kerfuffle to the holy instant, to infinite light, and see, first of all, that no problems exist in the light. And then you can look from the light's perspective and see how things look very different as the light, as true nature. See, problems don't exist here. There's no time, no space. So he's teaching us the contrast. Infinite light of being, peace, the desire to play like it's not in awareness through the dreaming. We're going to play, and then trying to protect it through upset. And then trying to solve the upset in thinking a bunch of thoughts, and see that the upset can never be solved in thinking, because the I is the whole function of thinking is to obscure infinite. It's the desire for an experience where what's always here is obscure, and then cover it over with upset. And then we spend all that time in a timeline in the kerfuffling of thought, and I can solve it this way. And that's why he's cutting the story, no storyline, because that's storyline is always where we're trying to solve a problem. He says, for now, that's good to see. The spirit can use stories, but he's saying for now, Drop the story. Yes, he's saying drop the story about a me. A story about what's happening. Just drop it. Drop stories about what's happening. Seems to be happening. I'm asking him. So there's a lot of relief in that. Just will be relief. The ego plays like it's horrible to drop stories. He said, it's not. It's not natural. Those things aren't natural. Very unnatural. Tell a story about this is what's happening. Join quickly in light. Follow the worksheet. Is this true? And go directly to desire for it, for the experience. Let me show you how much you want the upset, how you want to think you know what the upset's about. That desire, the desire to think you know what the upset is about. Okay. I'm never upset for the reason. So he has to show us. Jesus, do you need to show us what we're upset about? You can hear him. Yes. Because you'll get lost in thought. He said you'll get lost in. You need to come to me. If your desire is for peace. So he can retranslate. So in Love's translation. Because he's ultimately showing us that the upset never happened. Nothing happens, but we desire it, so it seems to be there, that dream of upset. Is upset a dream? You can ask him. Am I in dreaming? Is that a signal of dreaming, upset? You can hear him. Yes. Upset is a signal that we're dreaming. So he's telling us you can't look within the dream. We can't look within the upset for the solution. You have to look outside of the upset with me. Or with a brother as his representative, and look, let him show you the upset. That's why he's in control of miracles. Let me show you exactly what's underneath this upset. Desire. The death wish. Let me show you that. Once you start seeing it with them, so helpful. That's what we're avoiding looking at, is how upset is trying to cover over the wish to kill the light out of the mind. Out of awareness. It can't really kill it, but to play Kill Bill. Watched Kill Bill last night. The desire to kill light out of the mind, and it seems to be about going around and getting revenge. Where revenge is only there's one. So who are we getting revenge against? Ourselves. Because the like it. Ask Jesus, is there a desire to play the revenge game? It's been really helpful, like having an assignment with Jesus to look at the desires in 20, and then he's showing me movies that demonstrate that desire in play. Because sometimes it's got to be really obvious, like Kill Bill. He's telling me it's got to be so obvious, the play, because, but don't be fooled. He said, don't be fooled that those movies, it's like, well, I would never do that. He says, you're doing that in the mind. Like, I would never go out and try to, cut off everybody's arms and legs. But until he shows you how much you want to do that and how much you relish that experience. I wouldn't take Kill Bill movie for granted at all, because it'll show you how much that relishing of revenge, because the movie opens up and she's lying on the ground, all bloody. And seemingly someone has taken her baby or tried to kill her. And so now revenge is on. And it's such a great seeing of the empire, because it's so in your face. Like sometimes it's got to get so in our face. It's helpful, Jesus. It's just so in our face that we pop through. saying, this is ridiculous. This is really ridiculous. Revenge gets nothing. Yet until we see it, it's going to linger. And we're getting revenge on ourselves all the time. That Kill Bill thing is running ramshot under the awareness. That relishing of axe murdering, and even if it doesn't seem to be exactly an axe in somebody's head and form, until you see that's the play in consciousness and the relishing of that experience. Because that's why it appears, because it's relished. And then we feel guilty. Oh, I shouldn't really feel that way. Like, I like looking at all this. And so we go, oh, no, that movie's really horrible. I ran into a friend and said, oh, I just don't look at horror movies anymore. It's a relishing of it, and it's avoidance. That's why it has to be in guidance with him. He's not saying go out and watch horror movies. No, he's saying, look at these, have me tell you which movies to watch, and then watch it with me so I can show you wherein the relishing is. Relishing vengeance, relishing killing and trying to get even, and then see how there's no place to go with that. It's an unending loop, as Lori said yesterday watching it. It's an unending loop. To stay in the feeling that waking up is unending. That's what it is, you know? He flips these things. Jesus, I feel terrible. Jesus, I have a desire to feel terrible. Will you help me? Jesus, I feel upset. I have a desire to feel upset. Will you help me? So it just goes directly to him. So he's pointing to, I'm never upset for the reason I think, to take responsibility for the feelings, not out of guilt, but to look. It's just a responsibility to look. It's acceptance of divinity. It's honesty of God. Going, okay, I know the holy instance here. That's infinite. Does the infinite light experience upset? Is that possible in infinite light? You can look. No. Then it's, okay, so is this real, Jesus? Is this upset real? I never even asked if upset's real. Like, I could see, because didn't want to look to see that it's not real. Is it real in the first place? It feels real, Jesus. We need him to tell us and remind us it's not real, and our brother to remind us it's not real. This idea, like the preceding one, can be used with any person, situation, or event you think is causing you pain. That's helpful. Okay, Jesus, I'm never upset for the reason I think. Oh, you can just start to feel, oh, but I want to be. Jesus, do I want to be upset for the reason that I think? You just see that demand, like, oh, I really want to be upset for the reason I think. Jesus, am I willing to be shown a different way of being upset for the reason that I think? Can I ask for a miracle? Can I ask for a miracle on wanting to be right, that I'm upset for the reason that I think, you know, that demand? Oh, you can just feel it sometimes. Oh, I just want to be so right about this. Can I have a miracle on wanting to be right? Apply it specifically to whatever you believe is the cause of your upset. He says you'll feel so much relaxation in this, because this is the antidote. He's giving us the antidote to hell. in these thoughts of God and these lessons. These are antidote to hell. Desire for the experience of hell. You can ask him, Jesus, is this sentence, I am never upset for the reason I think, an antidote to the desire to experience hell? Yes, thank you. Okay, apply it specifically to whatever you believe is the cause of your upset using the description of the feeling in whatever term seems accurate to you. Using the description of the feeling in whatever term seems accurate to you. I believe the upset is my brother. I'm never upset for the reason I think. The upset may seem to be fear, worry, depression, anxiety, anger, hatred, jealousy, or any number of forms, all of which will be perceived as different. This is not true. Oh, let's ask him so we can directly experience that. Okay, so Jesus, although fear, worry, depression, anxiety, anger, hatred, jealousy, any number of forms perceived as different, are they different in truth? In the light of divine being, are they different? See that they're the same. The same denial of divine light. However, until you learn that form does not matter, this is so important. Each form becomes a proper subject for the exercises for the day. He's using form to point to formless. And this is really why in chapter 20, it's just a reminder when you're going through it and looking at those desires with him and your brother, to not play into any tendency to go, even if a sentence looks slightly different, or I mean slightly close to another sentence, it's like, oh, I already looked at that. No, look at all of it with him exactly as he gives it, because he's pointing to it here too. In the play of consciousness, consciousness thrives on making the little things different in that play. Anger, hatred, jealousy. So until we see they're all the same thing really with him deeply, we have to look at it this way. We have to look at each of the little parts. So it's really until the mind can really see the sameness of it all. You look at the specifics with him. You just have to trust him and ask him about that. Do I need to look at all the specifics and hear the yes? Is it helpful to look at all the specifics? Yes. And he's reemphasizing it right here. Until you learn that form does not matter, because we can see that in the light of divine being, this is where spiritual hell comes right here, because there'll be a recognition of light. Okay, I'm light. There's light here. Infinite light. But then the ego will use that even to cover over not looking. Well, I'm the light anyway, and it doesn't matter. The truth is you believe it does below your level of awareness. So that spiritual arrogance comes in to not look deeply and continue looking. It'll play the little card, oh, I'm light and it doesn't matter and it's just happening. I'm just asking Jesus, that arrogance? He's saying, yes, it is. It's a play in arrogance, and not to judge it. It's not to judge anything in form. It's just helpful for me to see where in the play of consciousness, it can play like it's awake, when it's really very still deeply invested in dreaming. So we can see that the holy instance here, that's not difficult at all, because it's our natural state. And you'll see in the reflection and consciousness, many beings can talk as this light, out of this, because we're Jesus and we can talk, that can come and it can seem really clear. But in the play of consciousness, here's a teacher, very, very clear, and he goes and kills himself. It just doesn't, that's not going to, no. Jesus. It's not enough clarity. There's still a lot of doubt thoughts, and I'm just asking him, is suicide ever used in purpose by spirit? No, because it's a denial of light, and the spirit doesn't deny light. It's an attempt to make death real and peace through death, he says. Peace through death. So it's really letting him again, because you can just start to see it, how much the ego really wants to be involved in what spiritual awakening is. And it wants to be awake. I want to be awake. I want to be awake. Why am I not awake yet? We have to really learn the discernment. What voice is speaking that? It's a desire for experience of not being awake. Why am I not awake yet is a desired experience not to be awake. That's what's hilarious. So it can sound very clear because we can all speak that, but you can see it. That's why he's saying don't talk about it a lot. And Muji would say that too. And of course, I probably ignored that a lot, because you want to talk about, ho, 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 I saw that I'm the holy instant or whatever. We don't see it. It's not that obvious sometimes. I want to talk about what Jesus is telling me. You see what's involved in that. That's why he's very clear. Speak only what I tell you. Speak only what I tell you. Do only what I tell you. Because you cannot see how the ego plays so subtly to deny light. And it's hell. It's really hell. You can pretend like you're awakened master and just be in total hell. And it reflects. It reflects out in form. It's not that having a scandal is bad or any of that kind of thing. It's not. Nothing's wrong. Nothing's bad in consciousness. It's just that seeing light, when you see your light, you just don't get involved in that kind of play. Do you see it? You just don't. It's not in your radar. It's not in the radar screen of love to be involved in those things. It doesn't have the desire for those experiences, I guess I would say. So it's not to judge what's appearing in form. It's discernment, to listen and let him be really specific. Because again, when there's a desire in playing consciousness to think we know why we're upset, the ego will keep you so hooked in that. You can ask them. It'll keep you hooked in the trying to sort it out in the thought forms. I can solve this at the level of thought forms. And that's why I keep saying, come to me in a moment of light. And it's a moment to see that the play and thought of trying to sort out why we're upset, the why, is part of that never-ending loop of the dream. However, until you learn that form does not matter, each form becomes a proper subject for the exercises for the day. So Jesus asked him, do you need to show me the reason that I'm upset, the true reason? And is it helpful? It's infinitely helpful. Because he's showing us that upset is a cover over to look below the upset, to see that there's a desired experience, there's a belief that the upset's true, but he's going to take us down so specifically to what that generator is. And that's why we really listen to him when we're upset in those joining sessions, so he can tell us, what's this about? And then so much clarity comes from that, so much peace, and to release what the true upset is. The death wish. You can ask him, is all upset about death wish, death to the light, the wish to obscure the light from the mind. Applying the same idea to each of them separately is the fast step in ultimately recognizing they're all the same. This is the light training, direct looking. When using the idea for today for a specific perceived cause of an upset in any form, okay, use both the name of the form in which you see the upset and the cause which you ascribe to it. For example, I am not angry at the body for whatever reason, I think. I am not afraid of X for the reason I think. And he says, you'll see your mind start to become calm. When you truly do these exercises, he says it's admitting we do not know. It's responsibility. He talks about responsibility. It's just taking responsibility for peace of mind in choosing to use these exercises. I'm not feeling this sense of tension for the reason I think. It's like dissolution of the I. But again, this should not be substituted for practice periods in which you first search your mind for sources of upset. This is what he's using, and he's using our power to search the in consciousness with him to look for upset. And now he's using it. Yeah, he's saying he's using it to help us search with him for denials, these deep desires. He's using that same thing. He's saying, yes, the power you have to see within to look with me in the subconscious mind. When you give him admission, see, we're giving him open access to the subconscious mind to help us find all those no's. You search your mind for sources of upset in which you believe and forms of upset which you think result. In these exercises, more than in the preceding ones, you may find it hard to be indiscriminate. He's also teaching us in chapter 20 to be indiscriminate as well. He's saying, because that's what consciousness is. It uses discrimination against itself to try to prove that God is dead. So it's going to pick out, even with the exercises, that's why I'm saying it wants to pick certain things. So I'll just kind of look at that. It likes that toe dipping. And to avoid giving greater weight to some objects than others, he's just pointing to sameness. Yes, he says, I'm pointing you to sameness so that you see difference where you're making difference to avoid sameness. It might help to precede the exercises with the statement, there are no small upsets. This is really helpful. He's reminding me about the iceberg. We were talking about, it seems like this little twig on the surface, this little twitch, but underneath the surface of the water, hell in the sun. Big ol' no twitch. Leave no twitch unexamined. You can ask him, Jesus, do I need to look at everything? And just hear the yes. I just hear yes. I haven't been able to find a way around that. Got to look at everything. I can see that. He says, because of the diversity in consciousness and the play to hide in such a diversified, fragmented way. There are all equally disturbing to my peace of mind. Yeah, it's tolerance, He's talking to me like, and I said that before, he told me directly, you're too tolerant. And I see that it's tolerance. It's tolerating those little twitches and tolerating mind wandering and tolerating the nose. You can ask him, Jesus, do I tolerate this? Am I tolerating being not divine? He says it has to be that way. We have to tolerate it. It's the only way it can play, because it's just, we're given all the power of God. Then examine your mind for whatever is distressing you, regardless of how much or how little you think it is doing so. Oh, yeah. Thank you for this reminder, Jesus. The tiniest twitch can hide a roaring lion under there. And it's letting it. You'll see it now. Some beings are mentioning it. And I'm asking, is this helpful? He says, yes. It's going to bloom like you just go to tiger quickly. I could see that too. I think I told you when I was at Mani Sahaja, boy, I just wanted to, like, I couldn't find a reason for it. You just want to tear the head off of a tiger. If I could find one, it wouldn't have survived. I just would have ripped its head off. But see, now it's really coming into awareness what's under there. He said that, and I'm asking, was that a desire? No, it's beyond desire, because it's actually the release. This is how you cannot know what a release looks like. He's saying yes. Now, I wouldn't have, if you'd said, I want to tear a head off a tiger, is that a release? And in that case, that was a release. He's saying. He says, don't get involved in it. Ask me. Whether it's, because it does use anger to hold on. See, I didn't even know until the second, till he told me. And I asked him, was that release? He's saying, yes, wanting to tear a head off a tiger. That's how much we don't know. He says, just do not interpret. Don't interpret all this that's appearing in consciousness. Let me interpret all of it. That's really helpful. Because otherwise you'll go around like something's wrong. And he's the only one that knows what true helpfulness is. See? And that's why you can't judge an appearance in another being either. You don't know. You can ask him, he'll tell you. But he'll also tell you whether you say anything or not. And don't say anything unless he tells you. He's very clear with me. I don't say anything. If he tells me, I'll say it. But you'll start to know things you can't, he'll tell you because it's helpful for you to know, but it doesn't mean it's helpful for you to say. That's another thing he's made absolutely clear with me. You're in service to God, and he tells you. That sounds kind of didactic a bit, but it carries all the power of God with it. Carries the acceptance of divinity, to serve, to be in service to wholeness. It's spiritual, it's a maturity in discernment. And also Christ control, where he's truly leading the way in what's most helpful. And it's learning to listen. That's how he's teaching us to listen, follow, listen to his voice and speak his voice and follow his voice and just listen. There are no small upsets. They are all equally disturbing to my peace of mind. Jesus, are all upsets equally disturbing? Yes. Then examine your mind for whatever is distressing you, regardless of how much or how little you think it's doing so. You may also find yourself less willing to apply today's idea to some perceived sources of upset than to others. If this occurs, think first of this: I cannot keep this form of upset and let others go. That selectivity in consciousness, he's just really reminding me about that, to really be vigilant on the desire for selectivity. For the purpose of these exercises, then I will regard them as all the same. That's the release. Oh, seeing it as the same as the release, like that's infinite love, is seeing sameness. That's infinite happiness, is sameness. So glad he's reminding me. And to be really attentive of releasing some things worse than others, and see how much unhappiness there is in holding on. And so I'm asking him, there's so much love in this. I was asking him, okay, so yeah, is it helpful to ask you to show us what we don't want to see? He says, yes. Look with me, then I'll show you it's nothing. But if you don't want to look at it, you're protecting that sense of hell. Then search your mind for no more than a minute or so and try to identify a number of different forms of upset that are disturbing you, regardless of the relative importance you may give them. See, this is releasing our holy mind to him, to work with him. That's so beautiful. And how we know what these upsets are, and we're no longer hiding them from ourselves. Apply the idea. This is like spending time with the one who knows. It's just really giving into the one who knows. Apply the idea for today to each of them using the name of both the source of the upset as you perceive it and the feeling as you experience it. Further examples are, I am not worried about X blank for the reason I think. I am not depressed about blank for the reason I think. 3 or 4 times during the day is enough. I'm asking, so it's still helpful to do the lessons? He said, yes, it's always helpful to do the lessons and to do them as I give them. You'll be guided to look, just like we're guided to come together in holiness. Thank you, Jesus, for bringing us together. Sending love and gratitude to each and every one of you as a reflection of the holy light within. Much, much love. Much, much love. Amen. Keep speaking, Jesus. He says he loves you so much. Thank you, Jesus.